Welcome to Classic Heart, the BMW Group Classic Podcast. This is JP, and our guest today is James Hay. And allow me to say, James' heart definitely beats with an M amplitude. Let's find out why.
This car is the most honest car you ever see.
It's been a dream ever since I've had it.
The first time I heard that engine screaming, I thought, I gotta have one of those.
It's the joy of driving.
What's great about a BMW Classic is the community that surrounds it.
When you listen to that, that's why we're here.
James, welcome to Classic Heart.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm really excited. I'm very grateful.
We are too, because I think that it's a long time we haven't someone from Britain, so I think that's amazing. And also see the car culture over there being one of the most important ones in the world, I would say. I mean, they are little, maybe only the US, where you find a track day every weekend or a scrambler meeting every now and then. So I think the UK is a fantastic place for cars. Would you agree?
I like to think so, yes. I mean, it's there certainly seems to be a very big car culture here. I mean, you're absolutely right. Throughout the summer, there always seems to be, either larger national events, big car shows. But I guarantee, most weekends you can drive around the countryside and you'll see, several classic cars coming the other way. And there are always local meets at local pubs. So, I think there is quite a big community in the UK.
I think it's quite understandably because driving through the UK, okay, after you have adapted to driving on the other side from the Central European point of view, it's one of the most fantastic landscapes you're driving through.
Yeah, I think there are some really great roads, especially once you get out into Wales and I've driven up to Scotland 3 or 4 times. That's always really good fun. Yeah. But equally, a few years ago, I actually went out to Munich with work. It was nothing to do with BMW at the time, but we drove from Munich into Austria, and some of the roads there were just incredible. The roads and the scenery as well. It was just amazing.
In the little intro, I just said that I'm sure that your heart beats in an M amplitude, if I may say so. But as so many good BMW stories, your personal story started with a God's Red Porsche. Tell us more about that.
It did. It wasn't my car. It was my father's car. But yeah, I suppose that's where the kind of real enthusiasm really kicked off. It was a 1985 Guards Red 911 3.2 Carrera.
As you want to have it.
It was fantastic. It was, funnily enough, actually quite recently, that car was off the road for quite some time, but it hadn't had an ownership change for sort of 12 or 15 years, according to a national system. And I thought, what's happened to this car? And over the last sort of decade, every now and then I would just Google the reg number. And then only a few months ago, it came up that the car was located up in Newcastle and there was a photo of it there at a car meet. And I thought, my gosh, it's still alive. And I got in touch with the guy. And every now and then we just communicate via social media. He sends me photos and I tell him, small oddities that I remember about the car. And he says, that's exactly right. It's definitely, we know it's the car because of the number plate. But it was amazing. I think I was very lucky to grow up, kind of, first of all with that car, but equally at a time where those kind of mechanical cars with a lot of soul were still on the roads. Or at least more of them were on the roads. They're on the roads now, but just in fewer numbers. Yeah. So, I'm sure it's not a normal car to have, but I think it was, those types of cars were a more common sight back then. So I think I was very fortunate. And, I can still, it sounds strange because a friend of mine also has a 944 S2 and they smell exactly the same inside. Just as any BMW from the 90s, they all smell exactly the same. Yeah, which for me, it's not just the look of the cars. You can look at the car, a photograph of a car in a book, and you think, oh, that looks fantastic. But until you hear it and smell it, that I think is really where, the passion comes from. It was fantastic.
I mean, it touches all the senses, right? That's something that I really like on cars. It's the sound, it can be the smell, it can be the smell inside, it can be the smell of the exhaust and everything. But jumping back on the young James, it's not that far away because you're still very young. But were cars always on your mind? Was there something that was really like the main thing you thought of outside of school, for example?
It definitely was. I mean, my father always had interest in cars. And yeah, I think it's small things like the bathroom at home where we used to live in the old house. There would always be car magazines, down the side of the toilet.
Obviously.
So you had something to read,
Yeah.
And my father has 3 brothers, and all of them have always been into cars. They've always had interest in cars, and 2 of them remained kind of within the motor industry for for their entire career. So cars have always been a big thing. I don't quite know what it was. I think I've always been interested in kind of engineering, and I really think it was the engineering side of how cars work, because one of the first toys I had was a very small sort of wooden railway set.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I think I started getting interested in cars because in my mind it was like a car is a grown-up toy. I think that's where
that's very nice.
Yeah,
that.
I think that's where the link started when I was a kid. I thought, these are my toys. Oh, and that must be my dad's toy or my mum's toy. So I think that's where kind of the passion really kind of grew. But yeah, and I've never managed to get rid of it. So
yeah, God bless.
Unfortunately, it's a very, very expensive hobby. But
James,
there we
that's
go.
one of the reasons why you're here. So, and we're very happy to share that your life in cars and with cars, I would say. And do you remember what was your very first car that you drove, like that you were allowed to drive?
The first car that I drove was a Mini, a BMW Mini, not an original Mini, because there's a racing track, Rockingham Raceway, which isn't too far from where I live. Some people may know it. And they did for my 13th birthday, I was bought a driving experience, and as a 13-year-old, you could go and drive off the public roads. So that was the first car I drove. But the actual first,
really,
but the actual first thing that I drove was a tractor. A friend of mine, his grandfather had a farm, still has a farm, I believe.
Yeah.
And he had a couple of old Ford tractors, and that was the first thing we drove in the meadows. I think I was 11 or 12 at the time, and I remember being really confused because I always thought when you drive something, you start in first gear, second, third, fourth.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my mate Ollie's granddad, he said, "No, just keep it in third." I said, "You don't start in third."
Yeah.
But so yeah, the first car I drove was a Mini, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for the tractor, we have a similar story, because also the thing I drove was also a tractor. It was not a Ford. I went for the red ones, like
Massey Ferguson.
And I really was amazed because we bought this farm in the north of Denmark, and it was like abandoned. The farmer was moving to Copenhagen and so on, but all the gear and stuff was there. We don't have animals, but we had all this fantastic gear standing around because it came with the house. And I remember that I was amazed. I don't know if it's like with Ford tractors, but if you want to go fast, you have 2 symbols. One hare.
I know what you're going to say. Yeah, and the tortoise. Yeah. I don't know why. I think it must adjust the idling speed or something.
Yeah,
I would assume.
Absolutely.
But yes, I remember
it's the idling
that.
speed. If you also attach something to the
power take off the drive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was always like, okay, now I go hare speed. It's fantastic. And so you can really say, if someone comes from the countryside and you say we go hare speed, then they understand that. That's Bugs Bunny mode. Let's go there. But then let's jump into BMW. We touched Mini, but let's jump into BMW. And I mean, why I said that at the beginning is because I think you own a car that I would say, if I would be believing in the concept of jealousy, I would be very jealous that you have it.
Yes. Yeah. E34 Saloon M5. Yeah, that's the one. Yes, I've owned a handful of BMWs over the years. And in fact, the first car I ever went in, I believe, was my father's E30 320i Lux Saloon in silver.
Yes. Nice.
I believe I was brought home from the hospital in that Adam Brooks Hospital in Cambridge. But anyway, back to my one. So yes, I own one.
Maybe we can jump also on that one, because is the car still in the ownership of your family?
No, it's not. Very sadly, it was involved in an accident. I must stress, it wasn't my father's fault. He was stationary at a junction, and someone went up the back of him, and then he was pushed into a Land Rover. So it was sort of sandwiched.
Yeah.
So sadly, that one
I
died.
hope nothing happened to him. Only the
No, he was okay. He was
Good.
okay.
Good.
But yeah,
Rest in peace, BMW E30.
I don't remember it, but I'm sure it was a sad day. But yes,
Definitely.
yeah. But the reason sorry, back to my M5. I mean, I bought that car having previously owned an E46 330 coupe, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. I loved that car. It was just a great all-rounder. It was fantastic to drive. It was modern enough that, you know, you had your air conditioning and etc., that you could use it every day, but equally it was good fun to drive as well. So, but prior to that car, I owned some E36s, and when I had the E46, I thought I want to go back to something old, but I want to step up a little bit.
Yeah.
Or something older. There may be people listening to this who are thinking, E34 isn't old. What are you talking about? But I enjoyed the E36s so much that I thought, do you know what? It's time to go back to something of that generation, hence the E34, because when I was much younger, I actually still have it. I'm looking at it in the bookcase now. I had a book that shows various fast cars. There's all sorts of nice cars in it, but the one that really caught my eye was the E34 M5. And it's a UK press car that is still around. And in fact, I was in touch with the chap who owned it briefly. But anyway, there was something about that car. It was the shape of it that really caught my eyes. Hence, when I thought, you know, it's time to go back to an older BMW, I thought, I want an E34. I wasn't necessarily fixated on having an M5, but when I found, you know, it was within my budget and I'd never had an M car before and I wanted something a little bit more special, I had to go for it. I've owned that for 9 years now, that car, which I can't quite believe. Nearly,
is that the longest one? The longest in your ownership?
It is. It is. It is. Yeah, it's the car I've owned the longest. I bought it when I was 23, which was a bit outrageous, but it was good fun.
Yeah.
And funnily enough, I'm sitting in my new house now. We've only been here a couple of weeks, and I brought the car home, and it's in the garage. So it's been in the garage for about 3 or 4 days. And every time I, you know, go into the garage, you can't not look at it. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's a great car. I mean, in particular, that particular car holds a lot of significance for me personally, because I feel the end of the E34 or the E34 and maybe the E36, because that ran for a further few years. That was really the end of the analog era of BMWs, in my opinion.
Definitely, yes.
And there are so many things about that E34, you know, the motorsport derived engine based on the M88 from the BMW M1, kind of that, the engine that's in that car, because it's a 3.8, it was the latest kind of iteration of that engine. You know, the largest displacement BMW, I believe it's the largest straight six BMW we've ever done. So a 3.8.
I think that's probably is right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's anything else, but because they then downsized and went into turbocharging, didn't they?
Exactly.
But
I mean, if anyone has a better idea and want to correct us, please use the comment section in the podcast provider or on YouTube where you find this podcast to prove us wrong. And let's see if that's. But I agree. I think it's the one, and also a fact that not the happiest fact, I have to say, because just recently the designer Ercole Spada of the E35 passed away. And I mean, he was the inventor of the famous Zagato double bubble. All the models, Aston Martin, DB4 GT, Zagato, all these kind of things. It was made by him. And it was actually a long break between his last work, which was the Alpha TZ, and then the BMW E35. And he was, I think the first one came out 88, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so, yes.
I think so. And he, in an interview that we had, he said that he already had the drawings and he can prove that for that car that won in the internal competition. Like in these companies, you have internal competitions, so every designer presents to the board and things like this. And this renderings, we would say nowadays, but of course they were like hand-drawn sketches, was from 1982 already.
Wow, so it was some years prior to the launch of the model.
Normally you take 7 to 5 years, but that's amazing. And I think what you described is the fact that this car looks very dynamic. I don't know what it is, but it looks, the 5 Series looks very dynamic for a limousine, I think.
I
Like
think
with
so
this
too.
straight.
It's an interesting design because it's quite boxy, but when you actually look at it quite closely at certain angles, you realise kind of the curves and additional little bits that are in there. Very similar to the E32 7 Series, of course.
Absolutely, right.
Yeah, it's
because same designer, by the way.
Yes, yeah. I think it's a fantastic
And for
design.
me, that's one of the most fantastic big limousine design, and I wish to own one day. Is the E32 7 Series from the late 80s to built into the 90s. That I love that car because it combines all the stuff from the 5 Series that you own and makes it a bit larger. And you know, as I'm large, I think I need a large car. So I think thank you very much. I think I will look now for a E32, a nice one.
Yeah, you're
but
welcome.
back to your car. So how did you find the car then?
I think I was quite fortunate because I was very particular because the E34 that's in, again, referring back to the book that I still have, is a late 3.8 litre 6-speed car. And I'm quite particular on specs, and I like to, you know, research them and go, right, do I want this one or that one? And that was the one that I wanted. And there were two in the country that were for sale at the time. And coincidentally, they were both very close to each other down in Surrey, which is kind of southwest of London.
Yeah.
They were within, not exaggerating here, a 5-minute drive of each other.
I mean, what a
both
coincidence.
At separate car dealers. I know, both at separate car dealers. And one was 25% less than the other. So there was quite a difference in price. I went to look at the first car, which was an Avis Blue car. And I was not impressed. It had been very badly painted. You know, you could see where there were tape marks, where the door handles and the rubber, the plastic bumper strips and things hadn't been taken off. And there was a lack of service history. And the people that were there selling it were not particularly interested. I think they sort of thought, oh, here's a young guy just come out for a jolly day, you know, which to an extent you can understand.
I think so too, but still, client is a client.
But still, indeed. And so I said, you know, thank you for your time, but it's not for me. Left, drove to the other place. And by this time it was raining and the car was parked in the corner, not looking very good. There were, you know, it was a bit dusty, not great, but I could tell that underneath it was a much better car. And it also had a lot more paperwork with it as well. And the first Avis car was, you know, a 6-speed model, no doubt, but it was a kind of standard 6-speed model. Whereas the one that I ended up purchasing, not because of this, but it was what we call the UK Limited Edition.
Yeah. So why is that? What does that mean?
BMW UK, I believe, commissioned 50 cars. Now, again, anyone correct me if this is wrong, but I believe they were commissioned by BMW UK. There were 35 in Orinoco Metallic, which is the colour of mine, which is sort of a darkish greeny sort of colour with the extended petrol and mint leather interior. These are all individual colours.
Yeah.
Originally, these cars were supposed to be named after Steve Soper. They were an exercise, as far as I'm aware, on, you know, individual paint and, you know, leather interiors and different wood trims in order to kind of celebrate and commemorate the end of the E34, particularly the M5, because the M5 was the last hand-built M car.
Yes, and they built also the M5 Touring in Italy for the
they did
Italian
the Touring.
market. And
That's
there's one
right.
for sale, which I love, but it's outrageously priced.
They do seem to be the Tourings.
Outrageously priced.
Yeah.
Outrageously priced.
I mean, don't get me wrong, a Touring is a fantastic car, but
It is.
Personally, I wouldn't pay the Edition, but that's probably because I don't have any children and I don't have any dogs. So I don't have the need for a Touring.
Me neither to both, but I can agree. But for me, I like this kind of wolf in a sheepskin, like in this family wagon style, and then you have the power, like a powerhouse in front of you, and I really like that. But I mean, I get that.
Yeah.
But
I think that's a big factor, isn't it? I think a lot of people love the stealthy. You know,
Exactly.
you don't, like you say, you don't quite know what it is, but it can,
it can like compete with the Porsche on the Autobahn. So, what I like on the Touring is also the massive sunroof.
The sunroof, yeah,
that's amazing. I really
because that opens from the front and the back, I believe, doesn't
exactly.
it? Yeah,
which I find quite cool.
Very cool.
But I said this was one of the I forgot how many cars have been built, but it was for the Italian market. It was green with brown leather interior.
That's right. They
it's
look
really like
amazing.
a typical Italian combination, I would say.
I love that. I
amazing.
love
Really
green
good.
cars. I love green cars, and I love cars with lighter interiors and kind of that dark brown interior. It's the most amazing combination. It looks fantastic.
But tell me, why do we like green cars? What is your theory?
I just think they're really classy. You don't see as many of them. I don't know what it is about green. I just
yeah, I mean neither.
yeah.
But it's I mean, give me a 456 in Pinot Verde and I'm in. Give me everything. Like, I mean, no problem. Even if it's a very lightish green, but any shade of green, it's for me. I don't know what it is. I really don't know. Maybe we can find a design. We need to ask a designer about this. What their theory is why green works so well.
Yes,
But
yeah, that would be interesting. I think so. Yeah,
yeah. I barely know anyone who's not saying, "Oh, green looks so good and elegant." Maybe we have. It's thanks to the Queen.
Maybe
With her green cars,
Maybe.
and this, and also these typical, I would call it oxblood red, but it might be horribly wrong. But you know when the dark red, they're
yes,
using also for the royal household. I also like
yes,
that
I
one.
can't remember what that's called. Is it? No, it's not cognac. That's brown. But yes, yeah, I have seen.
I have
I've
no
seen
clue.
the royal
I really
red cars.
don't know, but that's also we can find out. But it's actually an interesting question why they dropped the name Soper, because I mean he was a Le Mans legend. He drove for BMW. Schnitzer, British racing driver. For those who have not heard his name, he was driving the McLaren GTR and the UK Championships. So I mean, for me, it would be perfectly logical to call the special edition of an M5 after him.
It would have been very fitting. I think
It could be 1,000 reasons. So back to your car. So you have the. What was it called? UK.
They called it the UK Limited Edition.
Limited Edition
in Orinoco metallic. So, yeah, I mean, as far as I'm aware,
also
those
good color.
it is a good color because I believe I've only ever seen it on one other model, and then I think the cars above a standard car they came with a few bits such as electric seats and headlamp washers, sunroof, air conditioning. Yeah. So, but in all honesty, I did not buy the car particularly because of that. It's a nice factor, and you're at car meets and people say, "Oh, what's that?" And you can then talk a little bit about the history of M cars and hand built, etc.
You said you do around 10,000 miles in that car or kilometers. What was it?
I did. I bought it, and in the first year, I covered around just under 10,000 miles. So, 16,000 kilometers, which isn't a lot for me. I usually do sort of 15 to 18,000 miles a year with commuting and various other things. So, but yeah, I ran that car, and then I live in Cambridge in England, and then I met a very nice young lady who I've just bought the house with, who we've been together 9 years.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we've been together 9 years now. She lived in at the top of Norfolk, which was sort of, 50 miles from where I live, sort of 80 kilometers maybe.
So a bit commuting.
But I put the car into storage at that point briefly because the car had been very well looked after. It had been repainted and the maintenance was very good on it. However, a lot of the plumbing and pipework underneath was original and needed attending to.
Yes.
So I thought, no, before it gets beyond the point of no return, I want to put it in storage and then get a car for the winter and kind of do a slow restoration on this car, which turned into a bigger, longer restoration. But that's how these things work, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, that's kind of
because I think once you start it and you see something and correct it, and then you see something slightly off, it annoys you.
Yes, and I think particularly with older cars as well, you'll never get them quite perfect.
No.
I think whilst some people get frustrated, actually it's half the fun. Trying to figure out these problems and do a bit of self-diagnosis and kind of overcome any issues yourself. Plus, I studied mechanics when I was younger, and throughout my career, I've gradually come away from that into office jobs. So it keeps me a little bit more down to earth and in touch with, working with my hands a little bit, which is part of the reason I wanted to go to an older car as well, because you can work on them yourselves. And I think once you, like I say, it's like having an older house. You do the work on it yourself, and you have more pride in what you've achieved. It's not just having it; it's the maintenance and looking after it.
No, sounds absolutely right to me, because I think that's the core for it. Also, it's always about the balance. I mean, I'm not so into all these kind of sun, moon, stars thingies, but I could say that the yin and yang make, for me, total sense that you have a balance of everything you do.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. The great thing about the E34 is that it's a very reliable car. You know, I could get in that car tomorrow and cover 400 miles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking about fun and play, we have a little thing. It's called the pit stop. And the pit stop is a series of questions I would like to ask you. And you have two options. Choose one, please. And very quickly, without too much thinking. And then we might speak about some of your answers afterwards. Is that okay with you?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's jump into the classic hard pit stop with James Hale. Timeless design or elegance?
Elegance.
Compact agility or smooth ride?
Smooth ride.
One color or colorful?
Colourful.
Enthusiastically driven condition or like new condition?
Sorry, I'm not very fast on this one.
Oh, take your time. That's okay. I think that's okay.
I struggle with that one. I'd like a car to be nice and tidy and looked after. I will look at a car and go, I like that's, you know, a little bit worn in and the guy enjoys it. But equally, I like a car to be nice and tidy. So
we go for that. We go for the first one. Customization or factory perfection?
Factory.
Driving alone or driving with passengers?
Alone.
Very nice. Stick shift or automatic?
Ooh. It's got to be stick, manual.
Road trip or race trick?
Road trip.
Rolls-Royce luxury or BMW M performance? I think the answer is clear.
Oh, it's got to be M performance, hasn't it?
100%. Autobahn or country road?
Country road.
Petrol or diesel?
Petrol.
Petrol or electric?
Petrol.
Electric or no car?
I'd rather cycle.
Engine in the front or in the back?
In the front.
Inline 6 power or V8 growl?
Ooh.
Unfair, I know.
Inline 6. Inline 6.
Buy at auction or at dealerships?
Dealerships.
Sell or keep?
Keep.
Then the last one, listening to music or just the sound of the engine while driving?
In the E34, it's always the engine.
Good. Yeah. Thank you very much. It was quick and very, very quick. I find interesting that you liked it because the driving alone factor is the answer we get the most, is driving alone. Very rarely we hear in this pit stop, we hear driving with passengers. So what is it that someone likes to be alone in the car?
You can choose your own music.
Ah, good point.
I'm joking. Because in the M5, of course, the answer was engine, not music.
Absolutely. I just want to call you up with that one.
No, I don't know what it is. I've always liked driving. Whenever myself and Ruth go out, you know, I tend to drive. Just because I don't know. I just like operating a car, and I don't really know what it is. I think maybe because people such as us, you know, enthusiasts, we feel that cars are more. I mean, they are just a machine. Don't get me wrong, but we feel that. I think you can somehow. I think relationship is the wrong word, but you can connect with them more when you're on your own.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, I get that totally. And also for me, I don't mind doing long trips going from, I live in Zurich, going back to home, so where I was born in Hamburg. That's around, let's say, roughly 900 kilometers. So if I go that way, I'm happy to drive alone because I just sit there sometimes and really drive and not listening to music and really like focusing on anything, just have the mind free. And then sometimes problems I want to resolve, like in business, like in Classic Driver, that I'm looking for a solution for a long time. It just clicks and comes. So it's absolutely amazing. And,
it gives you time to think. Like, because it's unusual because I mean, some people may do, but I would never sit at home on my own at the kitchen table doing nothing but thinking. You just wouldn't do it, would you? No. I suppose you do it just before you go to bed, but then you go to sleep, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel that in a car, it gives you so much meaningful time to think about things, but equally you're not wasting time not doing anything because you're going somewhere.
I think that's something maybe deep inside we want exactly this, like our soul or body or whatever it is needs this, just sit there and do nothing. And this is maybe what we enjoy driving as well. This is actually at least my feeling. And we go alone to meetings to talk about our cars.
Yes.
So it's a very good combination, actually. So it's time for yourself. You go to meet like-minded and spirited people, have a talk, go back alone. I mean, looking back, my partners, they could never be bothered to go to a car event. None of them. I can't remember anyone of hers. No one. So so this was very, very cool because you're never alone. Also on the road, someone will give you like a thumbs up or try to speak with you at the petrol station.
I had exactly that at the Tesco in Ely. The guy at the cashier, when I went in, he said, "Oh, is that an E34?" I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "What is it?" He said, "Because a lot of E34s look quite similar." He said, "Oh, is it a 525 Sport or a 535 Sport?" I said, "Oh, it's an M5." And he said, "No." I said, "Yeah."
And it's
you're
UK
absolutely
limited.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things that you're absolutely right. I think those small things, so many times I've been driving down a road and someone will flash or wave, and it's that split second that you think, "Oh, yeah, that was nice that someone appreciated the car."
I mean, I do the same. James, thank you very much for making this episode such a nerdy E34 M5 talk. I really enjoyed that. But allow me one closing question. Are you able to speak cars with your father?
Oh, yeah, all the time. Yeah. Well, not all the time, but yeah. A lot
What does he think about your E34?
He thinks it's quite noisy. But no, to be honest, I've never asked his opinion.
Well, next Sunday roast, you do that.
Maybe, yeah, I'll find out. Well, he's a Porsche man, so he needs a bit of convincing. But the last time I took him out in my car, we were on the way back from a local meet, and I gave it some pedal. And
of course, in between the boundaries,
certainly,
certainly.
He got to 70 miles an hour very quickly, and I looked over and he went, "Certainly goes, doesn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, it does." Yeah.
It couldn't be a more British comment on this beautiful car saying that.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic last word for our podcast, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Perfect. James, thank you very much. And I mean, we could have touched so many topics, but I really love that we have kind of a mono model insight, and with such a legendary car, and also you owned this car for a long time. And so, James, thank you very much for joining the Classic Heart podcast, the BMW Classic podcast. And it was a very joyful conversation, very insightful. And I mean, if you listen to this and you don't want to buy a BMW M5, something must be deeply wrong with you. So I think the search requests for E34's M5 will now reach a new all-time high. Thank you very much, James Hay, for joining us today.
Thank you. I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, I love the podcast, by the way. So yeah,
that's very kind of you to say. Thank you very much.
I'll keep listening. You do a great job.
Thank you very much. And it's not just me who do a great job. Thank you for this. I just commented on that one. No, but this podcast would not be happening without a great team behind it. And so I would like to say thank you to Jan van Draaij, Frederica van Koningswald, and of course our friends at Scenario Studio in Munich who make us sound right and good. And if you liked what you hear, do us a pleasure and hit the subscribe button. That would help us to beat the algorithm. And whenever you have a comment or something, leave a comment and reach out to us on your podcast provider of your choice or on YouTube, where you also find us as part of the BMW Group Classic channel. So please do that, and also let us know if you have a guest in mind that should join James and our other illustrious guests. And so we cannot wait for that. So everyone who tuned in, thank you very much for doing so. And of course, again, James, hey, thank you very much for joining us today at Classic Heart.
Thank you very much. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
100%. Bye-bye.
Bye.